Okay, everybody, you already know that this is my Do Better Unite. I mean, Do Better Unify YouTube channel that I'm talking with. Now, Dr. Kelly Forbes, he did something that I don't think I've ever heard being done before. He showed up in Nobles, Texas, to a fish fry being thrown by a whole nother Democratic Party across the river. That's Paris, Texas. For some of you that don't know, that's where Nobles is. Little bitty community. Surprised to see him show up. And the first thing I told him was, you're not running for lieutenant governor because you don't have a cowboy hat, you don't have on boots. And after you and I spoke, I said, I'm coming off the challenge. I'm getting back in. I'm coming back. All because of what I saw you do, which was invest time coming to us in Southeast Oklahoma. You showed up somewhere that just out of pure luck, my wife got an invite from Nick Dangerfield because he had been seeing my son that ride bulls, and she was guarding what he called it for me.
Okay.
She calls it gardening, he calls it farming, and I told her, honey, you are farming because you don't raise flowers. You raise what we eat. So that's how I broke it down to her. Now, one of the things that I admired about you was when you came to speak to us, it was probably 30 folks.
Yeah.
But the energy that you invested in us to let us know that you wanted to talk to us, you treated it like it was a full stadium. Now, tell us what inspired you to run for lieutenant governor on a personal level, not the politician side. I wanted the personal side. Yes, you.
First of all, this being a bilingual campaign, right? So I was going to say, nada pasa por casualidad. And I always think about it in Spanish first, like nothing just happens by chance. And so like, here's the crazy part of how we all met though, was just because of other connections.
Yes.
So I was literally invited the day before and had another commitment to be at, but got to leave that one early to get to come. And so I was excited to get to go. But I just think that's, just now for the first time, like hearing how you got there, and then your wife being there, and I got to meet your family, and then how I got there too.
Yeah.
That just kind of gave me chills just for a second, thinking about like, wow, it's literally like relationships, connections, people who you know, and I think that you get to the right place whenever you're supposed to be there.
Yeah.
So, to answer your question though, about why even get off the sideline, jump in and do any of this, that all genuinely came from years and years of having a conversation about this. In the beginning, it was just about a joke a little bit, and then it became more of a serious conversation, and then in my career in education and moving up into higher positions of leadership, you start to experience more things, and you just get to see and hear stories from people. And whenever you work in education, you're working with people from all over. It's in the school, outside of the school. I preface it with that. The other part of that is then going through the dissertation process with my partner, Chris. After we finally graduated and we had that, there were a few more years. That was in 2023, whenever we got our dissertation and doctorate. Then my grandparents passed away. And it was just a few days before they ended up, well, before we were in the hospital and there was so much happening. Just a few days before that, we were on a patio at my grandparents' house where I grew up, Broken Arrow, having the same conversation. My papa was the one that said, you just gotta go do it. Like, just go do it. And so anyhow, then it literally, like 3-4 days later, like the TV fell, one thing led to another. So then months passed. And I'm with Chris on our patio in Oklahoma City, having the same conversation. And I could just feel it. I just knew, like, now's the time. Like, I literally am able to do it, I'm willing to do it, I want to do it. I'm in a situation where having my own business, I'm able to control the schedule of what I do. I want to jump in and do it 100%. But the only reason why I want to do this is because of the experiences I've had with people who are looking for someone who can either help or be listened to or somehow just be able to be of service in a way to get things done. And so I have found myself to be in a situation just living every single day and thinking why can't we help in this situation over here? Or why can't this group of people get what they need? Or why are we arguing about things that don't actually impact everyone's lives? And so taking the experience that I've had with my grandparents' service, honestly, taking the experiences and education that I've had, and wanting to take that to a level of government that can actually truly help people, bring people together, and convene them, which is what I've been doing my whole entire professional life. It's one of those situations again where nothing just happens by chance. You know,
Right.
you don't always know for exactly what you're preparing. I personally feel like a lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people who are in politics, I think they have an agenda for themselves, as opposed to an agenda of figuring out how to best serve people the best way possible. So the whole through line of what I want to do is something that I grew up with, something that I've learned about throughout my life, something that was a through line in our dissertation at Southern Nazarene University. It's all servant leadership. And so I would like to see more leaders in servant leadership, people who truly are listening, who can be compassionate, who can be sympathetic and empathetic whenever that time allows, but someone who also brings in knowledge and expertise, but also willing to say, I don't have all of the knowledge, all of the expertise. So how do we continue to work together to, one, bring strength in what we're doing, but then to find real solutions to help people. And there's this song called Dear Me, okay, by Nicole Norman. I listen to it quite often, and it's talking about you treat everyone as if they're your own blood, as if there is someone that you've known your whole entire life, even if you haven't known them. Now we can either A, sit on the sidelines and say, man, I wish someone could fix the system, or man, I know, handouts don't help anyone, so I'm not going to do that for you, or always have some excuse as to why you might be okay, but someone else isn't, but you just, I wish someone could just fix the system, until you start to recognize that's us.
I mean,
to go in there.
I'm laughing because I want you to really listen to what I'm going to say. I interviewed Ms. Munch at the Maddie Public Library, Maddie Terry Library in Valiant, because no one showed up. But I did not want her to waste that time. It was me, my wife, her work, her campaign staff, and I told her, oh no, it's not going to be a waste because we're going to take this time and we're going to go live and I'm going to interview her. And her campaign manager said that was one of the best interviews she had because I actually got her to be human, just herself. And most of the time when you all get interviewed, you get interviewed by journalists that think as journalists.
Not just as people that go home to their family, and just like everyone else with the kids screaming and running around.
Yes. So, but my reason for getting off the couch is, I said this to Ms. Jasmine Thomas that night at Fort Coffee. I told her that I could not run for an elected office because I would not have the mental to want to do, because I've been held down so long. So my frustration, my anger, my empathy would not even get a chance to show because of all of the frustration, all of the negative influence over the years. But you millennials, you all have enough exposure without carrying that weight. You know that it's real, but you don't feel it the way I feel it. Because if someone opposite of my color across the aisle said certain things, the trauma would trigger some things that we don't need in order to have it be better. And I've also said to my wife, I told her, be careful what you ask God, because the last 4 years, I've been saying, sweet, I'm done in the community. I want to find some good, strong young people that I can get behind and throw all my support in. Needless to say, I just didn't get one. I didn't just get two. I didn't just get three. I've gotten 4 millennials that I can relate to and truly support, because I see the genuineness. The credibility for me to say I'm all in is there.
I appreciate this.
Now, you got to remember something. And people don't realize, I told them, I said that I done told you this to your face, so I'm gonna say it again for the camera. I asked you about church and state the very first night we met. And you said church and state is separate. And I said, okay. And I haven't looked back, because you have stuck there. You've been very consistent with that. And I had told you the story about my 2 daughters. One made the decision that she didn't want that lifestyle anymore. She wanted a male. Okay, sweetie, daddy loves you through it, regardless. That's your choice. I want you to make sure you're comfortable with that decision. That was a shocking revelation to my other children, because they know how I was raised. They know daddy don't stand for that. But also daddy has evolved and realized that he made mistakes.
We all do.
Well, I had a question come up. What sin is worse? Hypocrisy or not knowing? And this is what I told the young lady. I said, I can't call you a hypocrite if you don't know what you're doing and if you've never been taught. You may be leading individuals what I feel the wrong direction, but if you know no better, how can you do better? Now, something that you have touched on that needs a lot of empathy, and you can leave the rest of that to us on the other side, and that is understanding the mindset, so that I don't make a mistake. I'm going to say alphabet, because I'm not that familiar with the different letters today. You got to understand, I'm 51. It was only 2 terms that I knew. Gay? Well, no, I'm not even going to say gay. Fag or lesbian. That's the only 2 terms that I knew. Now, my daughters have been educating me. I'm learning. But at the same time, can I truly tell you that I can relate to the struggles that you all have experienced as of late? Because it's no longer frowned upon. Because, like me, I'm trying to understand. So if I feel this wrong, I need to have the correct approach to say, okay, this is why I think that lifestyle is wrong. We need to be willing to agree to disagree, but we get understanding. Mm-hmm. That's what I enjoyed about our initial conversation. We agreed that you was a candidate first in my mind. That's all that I cared about. That's what you showed up at. And when you introduce your partner, just like I introduced my wife, that's not why I was there.
Right.
That's not why you was there.
No.
And I feel you would take that leadership into the capital to teach us, be an example of why church and state must be separate. I understand that because I learned that in my EO class. while I was in the Army. It's important to be able to recognize that in the USA, would you say we're a salad or a melting pot?
What would I say?
Yes, are we a salad or a melting pot?
So okay, now you're gonna get to like that dissertation part. So, you know, first and foremost, like it's important to have conversations because if you're unaware of something, like you said, I mean, if you don't know better, you can't do better. If you're aware of it, but here's what often happens though is that people want to argue. There's no need for the argument to happen. What needs to happen are the conversations to start being aware. So there can be exposure, so people can start to research or go ask other questions, or, be curious or something, And I feel like oftentimes we want to just come in and just like, this is what I believe and it's 100% right, and you're saying, this is right, you're 100% right, and then there's no conversation happening. So what we end up doing is tearing down not only each other, but everyone that's also around us.
Yes.
And that doesn't get us anywhere. So I've always told people, listen, if you ever have a question or a concern or a thought or anything, I'd much rather you come and talk to me because I will have an open conversation with you as opposed to you making your own story in your head or getting faulty information from somebody else, whatever that is. So this is all of us overall. So melting pot, salad, it's a little bit of both in a way. Because here we are, everyone's together. But everyone also has very distinct traditions, beliefs, cultures, upbringing, background, history. And if we start to just paint it with a big, broad brush, and we erase all of that, and then we just put one stamp on it, this is the only way that it is, what we're actually doing is disrespecting our whole history, or our heritage, or our background, or our ability to even have the moment to stop, to seek, to understand something else. Because if we can already agree that we don't know everything, but then we turn around and act like we know everything, I'm missing out on a whole lot of you. And if I believe that you have value, you have worth, then I want to be able to understand that. So as much as you and I can melt together and be together, right?
Right.
I don't want that to take away anything of your uniqueness, of who you are, either as a person. That's why I really love the whole celebration of diversity and who we are and how we get to celebrate that, to learn more about each other. I have been fortunate, privileged in the aspect of my grandparents would drive me around Oklahoma in the summer, drive me around other parts of the United States in the summer, help me get a scholarship to go study Spanish in Argentina. High school, got to go to Spain. Even at Metro Christian Academy on a mission trip over to Peru. To be a dancer and a singer that took me to Cairo, Egypt. To go with my partner Chris to Bangkok, Thailand, and go teach. To be a teacher with 11 countries and 9 different languages represented, newcomer students, many of them who are also refugees, coming in with different religions and backgrounds and thoughts and beliefs, to the work that I currently do now, even with students that are either from Afghanistan or Guatemala or an exchange student who's coming just for 1 year from Italy. The world is bigger than just the United States.
Well, when you're saying that the world is bigger, this is what I told my wife. I said, with the internet today, that we have today, the world is so small, but yet still so big. Mm-hmm. Now, as you can tell, I have my bench. This bench is about 3 years old. Yes. This Let's Do Better Unified was inspired well before I met Dr. Kelly Forbes, well before I met Miss Cindy Munch, Well, before Miss Jasmine song, I did something that you all talk about a lot, about less dollars going out of Oklahoma and staying within. Well, my son had told me 2 years ago, being a hypocrite would be the worst thing I could do to him. So, me and my wife had opened up a store. It was called Boys New and You, downtown Hugo. Got our name up on the window and everything. The landlord talked to me on the phone. I talked to her. She did everything, but as the lady that was introducing us, she asked me everything but was our nigga. Come on now, I'm 51. I'm Southern Oklahoma, I'm Southeast Oklahoma. I know tones, I understand all of that. So I told the young lady, I said, I'll take the building. Now understand, this landlord grew up in Hugo, Oklahoma. She's a Ford. Grew up in Hugo, Oklahoma. She's a Ford. Grew up in Hugo, Oklahoma. Graduated Hugo High School. She's a Ford. The reason why I'm saying that is most individuals from Southeast Oklahoma know what kind of individual the Fords are before they even meet them. It was either you was here or you was nothing. But they preyed upon the poor, the poverty-stricken that was shopping at the store. See, she didn't realize that I had attachment to who she was. But when the previous tenant, the one that moved out that asked me would I take it, she was in charge of handing the keys over. The landlord hadn't been in Hugo in almost 15 years. She just been having previous tenants pass the key, not knocking off no rent, not doing no upkeep on the building, not keeping it up to code. So what do? I take the key, I get a copy of the lease agreement, and I tell my wife, baby, don't worry about the rent. 6 months later, the landlord called. Are you in my building? I heard that you was in my building. I said, yeah, I've been in it for 6 months. Well, you need to get out. I said, well, no, I think you need to come here. We need to go to court. She thought I was joking. I told them in court. I told her, I said, me and you need to sit down with some other officials, and we need to get an understanding. My thing was, it needed to be the model to fixing downtown Hugo. I had a plan to present to the court that I also took to the school board of Hugo, to the city council of Hugo. Each individual had everything that I presented to the judge. We went to mediation. Me, my wife, my mother, and my father-in-law. The lady sat there and said, I don't care about you helping the youth. I don't care about the community. I only want my money. I said, I will not pay you a dime. I said that to mediator, and I said that in court. To this day, I have not paid her a dime. How can you prey on our community and not upkeep this building? But our downtown is raggedy, but you want to continue to take our money to, okay? You might be from Hugo, but are you helping Hugo? Everything y'all say about the foreign entities, she fit the bill. But this was a fight that I took to court. I didn't do no whole lot of bickering back and forth. I said, I even told the judge, I said it's bad when a black man got to do wrong to try and correct the wrong. I shouldn't have had to do that. The city council should have stepped in because about 2-3 months after he got evicted, why did Why did the House pass the, well, why did they pass the bill about if it's a landlord and the business owner, one person, they get breaks? That was no different than what I was saying. That if we're gonna help the community, we need to help the community. But it's got to be like it was before. It got to be some connection. Foreign investors, they only want one thing, profit. That's it. Why do they need to invest back into Oklahoma? Give me one reason. Why do foreign investors need to invest back into Oklahoma? They don't. What? No. I said, what need do they have to invest back? They don't.
Oh, you're talking about what need they have?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
See, you're a millennial, so a lot of the things that frustrate you, that you see me projecting to you, is why I don't need to be an elected official, and so why so many that's there need to step out the way so that you all can fix it with some of our guidance of let's not let history repeat itself.
You know what's interesting that you say all this is because again, I go back to my grandparents all the time because they raised me. They were born in 1932. All right, 1932. So imagine little Kelly, like being raised by my grandparents, and Kiki was in the dance group. She was also in the sorority. Papa was part of Kiwanis, did things with Salsa Street, with Halsey. I just say that because we were always around lots of different people all the time. It truly wasn't because it wasn't until middle school. So you have the people that I was around, adults. Again, my grandparents' friends, some older, some younger, but my grandparents' friends. Not everyone that was my age,
Right.
or my mom's age, or my dad's age, my grandparents' friends, right? So I'm growing up with all these people, and it's not until I get into higher middle school, but higher middle school, do I even start to like be in the, because again I was also in the arts. My house and the arts are two places where there's acceptance of everything.
Yeah.
You see everything.
Yeah.
You learn about everything. And again, we're unique in who we are, but we get to share who we are. So it's a salad and the mouth, it's all together at the same time. So it's not until I'm older and in different areas where I start to hear like this humming of hate or othering or pushing people aside. And so we never like, I think that's the crazy part of it is that whenever things like this, like I hear it, I understand it. As an adult, unfortunately, sometimes I experience some of that in my own way because of who I am. And I like you for who you are, right? Not that it's the same, but little Venn diagram or some of that overlap. You're like, oh, like why are you being like that, you know? But I think like that's the whole thing is that in my upbringing, someone who was 1932 also shows that the people that I were around, my grandparents, friends, and other family, that would never be politics, right? To be othering people, to not be caring about who everyone is and what those needs are and how they're going to do it. Whether you have a disability, whether you speak a different language, whether your skin color is different, whether your educational background is different, whether your socioeconomic status is different, whether your ages are different. It was all just so much of like, just being together. That's all it was.
It was inclusion.
Right. And we were all better because of it.
Yes.
It never came from anything of exclusion, it was all inclusion. So that's how my mindset comes into this. I think, well, if there is a different need, then help them get that need. And yes, I'm glad that we would have equity to be able to help with those needs because there's a reason why those needs are there, right?
Right.
So I don't like, I can hear it. I'm like, intellectually, I hear what you're saying. Here, I don't understand that at all. It doesn't make any sense here.
That's what we need there because you will be willing to listen with a head, no anger, to be bounced off of you're going to actually listen to the issue without it being personal. Now, me on the other hand, I was trained as an equal opportunity representative to separate. But how many today truly understand what it means to listen to an individual like yourself on a personal level, on a faith-based level, and not feel offended?
Well, that's okay. So here's the difference.
No, I'm just asking.
So is someone just interested? Are they curious, or are they fascinated? And I always tell people, I want to be the fascinated person, because I don't want to just know how something necessarily works. I want to know why it doesn't work. It's the same transfer over when it comes to being with people. I'm fascinated. I'm fascinated by meeting other people, by learning about their experience. And I think part of that comes from my background of having that privilege of being able to travel around, see different people, see different places. So I don't go to Thailand thinking that, oh, everyone here is so different. A lot of the religion might be different, what they do, and then think badly about people. It excites me. I just can't even believe it. You know, I mean, it's incredible, and I'm fascinated. I want to learn as much as I can about people in general. But I remember being there in Thailand, all the studying that we would do. But it's the same thing that you should take along anywhere that you go. It's that fascination to want to learn, to understand. Because you take yourself so seriously in what you do. The role that you do, the responsibilities that you have, the leadership that you provide, that is where you have to take that part seriously. But if I take myself as just me too seriously, that means I'm going to cancel out other people around me. And especially when you're in any part of leadership, you bring yourself to the table, right? But you also have to remember you're a vessel in the position. It is a vacancy that is going to open, and there will be someone that will fill that vacancy. What is the role of that vacancy to best serve the people? Not just of some people, all people. If you're willing to listen to all people, then again, with your fascination and the heart of service, you're going to be able to give more, do more, be more productive, be more innovative. It's going to help in so many ways.
I'm sorry, Chris. It's just that I really wish my wife could have been here, because she would have been probably over there just like shaking her head the whole time you're talking, because she would have probably asked me when we left, did you tell him what to say, because you knew that I needed to hear that from him, because you've been saying this for the last since 2008 till now. See, I wrote a book in 2000. I published the book in 2008. It's on Amazon.com. Am I a child of God or a slave of the system? I wrote it without any character. I wrote it based on me. Today, I tell my son, baby, Daddy got to get the specks out of his eye to build a board. I said, I got to get the specks out to build a board, because I'm trying to bridge the gap. But I can't bridge it if all I see is you're wrong, because I'm insecure with me. See, that means something to me.
Yeah.
I'm willing to put action behind that.
Not just words.
No words.
And you don't need words if you have the action. Because then people see it.
Well, my wife asked me, she said, baby, what gave you the idea that you was even worthy of interviewing this month? I said, baby, no, you got to remember something.
No, I'm here. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to remember, we're talking about someone that grew up in Dallas, Texas, around very few elected officials. But the elected officials didn't even register with her mom. We're talking about someone that grew up in Oak Cliff, graduated SOC. So even really having an understanding of what it means to deal with an individual of white complexion. No, we stay away from them. What you doing with that white man? You got to understand the language that shaped and influenced a lot of us.
Those words have power,
Yes,
whether it's good or bad, but it's still, yes.
it has power, and you have weakened some of that power that those words once had over me. Because I came off the couch. You gotta understand, I came off the couch after fighting a case of eviction for, I was in the building 6 months, fought the case for 6 months. And she said in court that her life depended on that income, that I chose to be dishonest and steal. But I told the judge that I forged my name on the lease agreement that I brought to him. I told the judge that. That's how bad I wanted this case to be presented, because we need change for betterment.
Yeah.
And what makes it even worse, the same judge that heard my case gave me full guardianship for my son. Full guardianship. Me and my wife had full guardianship. After he saw that I supposedly cheated this woman out of $7,000 of land. No, you don't care about my community. I will not let my community support your lifestyle anymore. And that's what I do. And the building is still empty to this day. But it's a prime piece of real estate, as she said. You don't have no value in that. You don't know what the temperature is of Choctaw County. It's not ruled by who you thought. She was in court asking for attorneys that had retired 5-6 years ago. That's how out of touch she was with what's going on in Choctaw County right now. Yes. Yes.
If you're going to be able, if anyone, whether you're an elected official, whether you're a leader in your own right, or you have a title with a leader, because not all leadership needs a title, right? If you're not in the spaces, if you're not with the people, then you're not going to be able to understand it better.
Yeah.
That's where you have two things that happen. You're going to have barriers, which a good friend of mine always says, reminds me, they are perceived barriers.
Yeah.
You can get over it. They're not forever. Perceived barriers versus the guiding principles that you have, the safeguards, the through lines, whatever that means. Again, these barriers are over here, are going those unawareness, lack of exposure, being resentful, and push out the opportunity to try to learn to understand will only make you be destructive in nature in your practices.
Yes.
Versus over here, seeking, literally seeking to understand. Not sitting here waiting for you to give me a call to let me know about it, but showing up and being there and putting myself out there, or whomever we're talking about, whatever person we're dealing with. You have to be engaged, you have to be involved, and you have to be vulnerable. And you have to be willing to say, hey, I don't know something. Or hey, will you teach me something? And this is whenever, like I tell people, that this is why I can do this and I want to do this, right? Because like I was telling you, if you have a question, then come ask me, let me know. But I also want to make sure that we value each other, we're safe with each other. So if I have a question, I can also come ask you and not have, and you don't want me to get upset and defensive all of a sudden, nor do I want that from the other person. But I want a safe space where I can come and say, hey, I have a question. I would like to understand more. So now, if I can put myself in that position, right, I'm going to bring all the leadership stuff you have to do, and make sure you can sit there and understand if we're going to, supplement or supplant these fundings, how we're going to move forward, and what this board or commission and things like that, all that stuff, right? But all that aside, though, if I'm not willing to seek to understand and to therefore listen and learn about that, then how in the world could I ever come back to this space over here and then lead appropriately? Because when I have my blind spots. So, will anyone ever be perfect? No. But what I can promise, and what people should promise, is that I'm not looking for perfection even currently now in leadership, but I'm looking for progress. I'm looking for people reaching out. And I want you to go to all the places that you think no one else would go, and you go there. And then you go to all the places where you think everyone's going to go. But if you're going to, if any, especially some of you are going to be running for any office when it comes to politics specifically, or whether that be leadership in a school district, on a school board, or your local municipality, or even in your place of worship, your faith-based organization, whatever that is, you better be with the people. You better be among the community. And you better lead first with love. You have to do that.
I'm laughing because my father, he said the same thing. He said to me, he said, Junior, if you really want to lead, you got to be in the action. So now I don't say I'm going to be in the action, I'm going to say I'm going to be in the example. So if like you said, I got to have a safe space with you, just like you got to have a safe space with me.
Yeah.
And I had to do the same for my children. Because with me, my daddy was like, suck it up, drive on, my word is it. That's it. Because that's what it took for me to be safe. Because it was still that turmoil time. I mean, I witnessed, matter of fact, my classmates, some of them, when we were in high school, we actually had a race fight in Hugo, black and white. I'm talking about me. Yes, right there in Choctaw County. Same Choctaw County that I have to give praise to the young people that showed up and showed out last night for Miss Munson's. We had about 12 or 15 young voters, youth, girl. The most I had seen on her stop in Southeast Oklahoma. And I made them all except Durant. So yeah, they asked, am I invested? I went to Fort Coffee. I told y'all I'd be there. I'm going to show up when I say I'm going to show up. I was supposed to be coming to Tulsa to Monday because you was having a fundraiser.
Yeah.
County commissioners put me on the agenda for us to discuss a joint venture. Because you got to understand, our schools is faced with the lawsuit. Our county is faced with 2 lawsuits, almost $15 million. That's a major distraction for our landowners. We have to be innovative right now, not later, right now. Everything I was saying in this message, I can stand on and take what I took to the court, and we can build on it right now because both sides have learned a little more. Because I didn't send $7,000 down there to her, but I put almost 12 grand back into the community. No, if I wouldn't have broke the law.
Well, that would.
No,
but
I broke the law. Yes, I broke the law to try and show that we got to do something different. Doing the same thing is insanity.
You forced it.
Yes, I did force it. Even though everybody thought I was crazy because they said that I didn't want to pay this woman's money. But then those that knew my father, that knew me, they said if he wanted to pay it, it would have been paid. Because they work. They know how to work. My oldest son said, Pops, just about a month ago, he said, Pops, I understand now why you had to stand alone on a lot of things. He's competing with an AI forklift right now to be able to keep a warehouse job. He said to me on the phone, Daddy, I got to show more value than AI to be able to keep my job. And he worked at a warehouse in Dallas, Oklahoma. What AI do we really compete with right now other than a data center? And what's the whole point of people saying we need?
There was a guy, I don't know, not too long ago anyhow, I was taking an Uber somewhere. We were having a conversation, just talking, and one thing led to another, and typically whenever I'm in a Lyft, I'm more than happy to have a conversation unless they're just quiet and don't want to have one. But anyhow, he was telling me how he had just lost his job, and that's why he was doing Uber. And I said, why? And he said, because AI took over, and so all these people got laid off. I said, no, listen, it's not going to go away, it's going to advance, there's pros and cons all of that. I said, however, it's a tool. This needs to replace anybody. And he said, I was told, go to school, get good grades, go to college, do all this. He said, I did, still paying off his college tuition that he had, right? Student loan payment.
Yeah.
And he says, now I have a degree, and I'm driving Uber, not using my degree, because my job was replaced by something else. Yeah. Yeah. And I wish I knew what he was doing right now.
Now, I have to ask Chris. I mean, I'm not going to ask Chris, but I'm looking at Chris when I say this. It's always a team effort, and so many individuals forget about the team that's behind something. And I have this thing about, I tell individuals, you might see me as the face, but just remember, I'm standing on the shoulders of some, and I'm being the shoulders of the future. I've been saying that. You and Miss Munson and Miss Thomas, you all have been ringing so many of my phrases. I can't help but to support you all because it's like, I don't have to do all. I told my wife, I don't have to be everywhere. I just need to be a part of everywhere.
And they're going to be exactly where you meant.
Yes. Choctaw County. We have to do better. And in order for us to do better, you got to have leadership that understands the sacrifices that need to be made now for the young people.
Yeah.
Well, man, we better cut off.
I'll tell you this though, real quick. I couldn't do this without the support of Chris.
Right.
But also my friends and the rest of my family. They all, fortunately, understand what this means. They know what the sacrifice is. And I'm human. I'm just a regular person also, just like we all are at the end of the day. And, there are times you miss your friend's birthday.
Yes.
It's like I was just saying before we began this, Chris reminded me because there are 3 people I need to reach out to today to wish them happy birthday. And it's a little bit late.
Right.
And I still haven't gotten there yet. And I kind of thought about it the whole entire day. But anyhow, yes. One, even while we were outside earlier, here, so that's the problem.
Yes.
Everyone stood up with my snack, and I was thinking about my dad.
Right.
Thinking about my dad. Thinking about people that came before me, that aren't here anymore, the ones who are with me. Everyone that got me to where I am today. So I'll circle back around to your first question. I knew for a fact that my grandparents were just specifically, my mom, my dad, my family, my grandparents, they didn't do everything that they did for me just to sit at home.
Right.
They didn't sacrifice everything, give me every opportunity, allow me to experience all these things, to not use anything. And I had weird, crazy background that people wouldn't necessarily know of. And as time goes on, people know it more. So we'll share it with everybody.
Right.
So I'm always thankful for that. But people pour in this every single day. And it's up to us to decide what action we're going to do with what we get from other people. And here's the last part.
Okay.
When I first got into being a principal, this was like a summer school, kind of like they're going to test you out.
Okay.
But only during summer school. But I remember my mentor from school at that time. We were walking out to our car, and we were walking way far out. And I got there later than he got there at the time me. So I was already parked far away. And he was parked literally in the very last parking spot. And I said, "Were you late today?" I came on time, but there were two different summer schools. Anyhow, I said, did you come late today? And he said, no. He said, a good leader always parks the last parking spot, and then everyone else at the first parking spot. You think about everyone else. It goes back to that servant leadership part. And that analogy has never left me. I thought about that all the time. So between my upbringing and between that thought process and that concept and what I sincerely try to carry through in every position I've had before and then into what I'm trying to do now. It's about servant leadership. It's making sure that you are helping everyone first. And I think it's just an incredible opportunity. And it is, as another friend told me, she said it's the breaking of the ego, the hope to the rebirth of something so much more beautiful. And you know what? It is that. And I knew that going into it, I've experienced that before, but I continue to experience that now. And I'm grateful for moments like this, like today. I'm grateful for whoever we met. I'm grateful for everyone I've met along this whole path, because it's just allowed me to break myself down more, to continue pruning back. They're the fruits that you need to have.
Yes. Thank you.
I love it.
Look forward to it. But I will make sure that this get up on my YouTube, and I'll send you the link.
All right. I love you.
Again, man.
I love you. I do.
And you said y'all be back here on the 14th?
I think it's the 14th. I'd have
Somewhere
to
in
double
the
check.
area. I have to look at the calendar. It's all blur right now, but we'll be back next week sometime.
Okay.
Yes. It's either here
Or
or
close.
Tahlequah.
Okay.
I don't
I know.
something, but I just, yes, I
Close
know it's
by
coming
somewhere
up.
soon.
Okay.
And whenever I looked at the calendar for the 14th, it's not on there
Cut it
yet,
off.
but I know that they said